Us with a personal testimony.
Hey everybody, my name is Sharon Hadley and I am a woman in long-term recovery. I want to thank Ray Andrews for inviting me to speak here tonight. I want to thank Sheriff Gonzalez for the real change that he's making in our community. It's such an honor to come together and remember our loved ones who have been lost to substance use disorder, directly and indirectly. We have felt the devastating pain of having someone die very suddenly and unexpectedly, as well as the indescribable grief of watching our loved ones slip away before our very eyes. When I was asked to speak at this event, the first thing that came to my mind was a passage from the book Alcoholics Anonymous.
Come on now.
An illness of this sort, and we have come to believe it an illness, involves those about us in a way no other human sickness can. If a person has cancer, all are sorry for him, and no one is angry or hurt. But not so with the alcoholic illness, for with it there goes an annihilation of all things worthwhile in life. It engulfs all whose lives touch the sufferers. It brings misunderstanding, fierce resentment, financial insecurity, disgusted friends and employers, warped lives of blameless children, sad wives and parents. Anyone can increase this list. I'm deeply touched by that message that's as true today as it was when it was written in 1939. We come together today to help one another shoulder the pain that we share, to heal, to take time to express our gratitude and joy for the blessing that our loved ones were in our lives, to mourn the possibilities that will never be realized. My father was an alcoholic. You may have seen him up there, dashing young man, black and white photo. That was in his James Dean era. He died of suicide when I was 18 years old. He saw no other way out. He couldn't live with alcohol, and he couldn't live without it. A few years before his death, he sat me down and told me that he was alcoholic. I couldn't believe it because I had never seen him take a drink, be intoxicated. He also told me that it's a hereditary disease, and so I too was at risk. So after his death, I purposed myself to be very careful around alcohol. And before I even took my first drink in college, I called the local AA intergroup and I said, "How do you know if you're an alcoholic?" And the person on the other end said, "Well, if you're making this call, you might be alcoholic." It's funny now, but it was not helpful to me because I hadn't taken the drink yet. I wonder what might have happened if I had been told the truth, which is, if when you honestly want to, you cannot quit entirely, or if when drinking, you cannot control the amount you take, you're probably alcoholic. I wonder what would have happened had I gone to my doctor when I was in university and I told him that I was concerned about my drinking, that I was concerned about my hand shaking. If he had offered safe and effective drug which can be used to extinguish the desire to drink when the disease hasn't progressed too far. That affordable medication is naloxone. I wonder what would have happened if Ed Gonzalez was in office the first time I was arrested. To this day, I am baffled as to how these symptoms and treatments are not common knowledge. Too often, the asinine and downright insane behavior demonstrated by individuals with substance use disorder is viewed as a free choice, rather than a disorder of the brain characterized by the loss of choice in the matter of substance use. Would my story be different if the circumstances had been different? Who knows? What I do know is that I am grateful for every bit of my story today. I graduated from college by the skin of my teeth. I had high hopes and confidence for my future. But just a few years after graduation, my substance use disorder had taken complete control of my life. I lost everything. My relationships with my family, my house, my freedom, my civil rights, and my hearing. But worst of all, I lost hope. I had no idea how to get out of the cycle of recidivism and homelessness and addiction over and over. I was trapped. I was detoxed every single time I went to Harris County Jail, and not once did someone offer me help. No one looked at me and said, "This is a very sick person, a person with a brain disorder that will kill her." Instead, I was seen as a recidivating offender. During my last incarceration, I was offered a program called Turning Point. Finally, the delusion that had controlled me was broken down, and I could finally see the truth. For the first time, I allowed myself to think that maybe there was a way out. But with that tiny bit of hope came paralyzing fear, because I had no idea how to have a plan for successful re-entry into citizenship. It was then that Amelia Murphy and her team from the Path to Recovery program came right into the prison. They knew the challenges experienced by women with substance use disorder and recidivism. They knew the way out, and they had come back in to guide me to a life of recovery and freedom. Now real hope sprung forth. I grabbed onto them and I said, "I'm coming with you." I did everything that was suggested to me. They supported me through every stage of the recovery process, connecting the appropriate resources for each stage. As a result of my recovery, I'm now a mother. I'm a grandmother, a sister, and an aunt. I'm a tax-paying, volunteering asset to my community. My recovery, I've been able to go to the state capitol and advocate for laws to be changed so that more people can have access to long-term recovery. Yes. I've volunteered in our community with the Houston Recovery Initiative workshops to create opportunities for long-term recovery through the development of a recovery-oriented system of care. I'm currently working at Avenue 360, which is a community health center with 8 locations here in Houston. We are implementing a model called ESPERT, which stands for screening, brief intervention, and referral to treatment. We offer screening to each and every one of our patients as they come in. In doing so, we're normalizing talk of substance use as a health issue, smashing the stigma that is so often a barrier to health and wellness. We provide brief intervention to patients who screen positive for drug or alcohol use, and then we provide education so that they can make informed, self-directed choices for their own health. We provide in-house referrals to brief treatment, to intensive outpatient, and to medications that can support recovery. We connect with community partners for resources that we don't have, like inpatient treatment. The value of being able to access these services right where people are receiving their primary health care is phenomenal. My recovery has enabled me to touch the lives of thousands of people. Some of you are here. People just like me who have experience with involvement with the justice system, homelessness, and hopelessness. People who are now living self-directed, fulfilling, and productive lives.
Yes!
When I think about the good my recovery has enabled me to be an instrumental part of, and how close I was to being lost forever, I'm at once grateful and humbled. But at the same time, I'm heartbroken by all the preventable loss that we have experienced. I thank God for recovery, where heartbreak can be transformed into action. Action and advocacy for all people to have timely access to treatment and recovery support for this deadly disease. I refuse to let our loved ones die in vain, and I invite you to join me in demanding adequate care for our loved ones. Thank you.
Now, if that's not a story of inspiration, I don't know what is. Y'all give her a hand one more time. Thank you, Miss Hadley, for sharing your story. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Dasha Guyan.